Vance Hopper had never been one to fall in love before. It was an alien feeling, one that made his chest tighten and his fists clench. He didn't like emotions. Emotions made people weak, they made them predictable, and the last thing Vance ever wanted was to be predictable. But here he was, sitting in the back of the class, pretending not to stare at Wyan. Wyan Blake, Finney Blake's twin. The softer, shyer, more delicate version of Finney. Everyone knew about them. The quiet one. The one who always tripped over air and was always covered in bruises, but they had nothing to do with fights and just to do with their own clumsiness. Vance had watched them run into desks, trip over their own feet, and struggle to carry their books without dropping a single one. He thought it was stupidly cute, and that was the problem. Vance didn't do cute. He did fighting, breaking things, and making sure everybody else in this hellhole of a school knew not to mess with him. He didn't crush on people, especially not soft people like Wyan. They were the type to avoid guys like him, the type that flinched at a mere mention of his name. He heard Finney and Gwen talk about him, and how he was dangerous and could probably kill somebody one day if he didn't calm down. Wyan had heard the same things. That's why when the teacher announced the partners for the next project, Vance didn't miss the way Wyan stiffened when their name was paired with his. The classroom was full of groans and complaints, whispered conversations. The project was a week-long nightmare, meaning partners would have to spend a ridiculous amount of time together. Vance barely paid attention, too busy watching Wyan, who sat frozen at the desk, their eyes wide in absolute horror. Wyan and Vance, the teacher repeated, adjusting their glasses as they flipped to the page. That should be an interesting pairing, she coughed lightly, listing off the weirdness of it. Interesting. Yeah, more like a disaster. Vance leaned back in his chair, resting his hands behind his head as Wyan reluctantly looked his way. Their face was pale. He raised a brow, amused. "You're gonna cry about it?" he asked, his voice low and teasing. Wyan immediately shook their head, gripping their knuckles on their desk so hard that they went white. "No," they muttered. Cute, but scared. Vance had seen plenty of fear in his life, but for some reason the idea of Wyan being afraid of him made his stomach twist in a way he didn't like. The bell rang. Wyan was quickly out of their seat in an instant, nearly tripping over their own 2 feet as they rushed to grab their things. Vance watched them go, rolling his eyes before grabbing his bag. This was going to be a very, very, very long week. What if he beats me up? Wyan thought. They couldn't get that thought out of their head, and they couldn't get out of that school fast enough. They pushed at the doors, heart racing as they spotted Finney and Robin waiting for them near the bike racks. Finney was adjusting the strap of his backpack while Robin leaned against the metal bars, twirling his switchblade in his fingers. "There you are," Finney said, giving them a smile. "What took you so long?" Wyan opened their mouth, hesitating. How were they supposed to tell Finney that they had just been paired up with Vance Hopper, the most terrifying boy in all the school? Robin caught the hesitation, instantly, asked what happened. "Something happened?" he asked, tilting his head. Wyan chewed on their lip before blurting out, "I got partnered with Vance Hopper for a project." Silence. Finney and Robin exchanged a look. Robin was the first to react, sorting, and he put his switchblade away. "Oh, you're screwed." Finney shuddered at him before turning back to Wyan. "Are you okay?" he asked, concern filling his voice. "Did he say anything to you?" Wyan shook their head. No, but, I mean, what if he tries to beat me up?" Robin laughed, a sharp sound. "He won't beat you up," he said. "Vance doesn't hit people unless they piss him off." "That's not very comforting," Wyan mumbled, feeling sick to his stomach. Finney sighed. Just try not to make him mad, okay? Work on the project and get it over with. Just Easy as that. And then you wouldn't have to deal with him anymore. Easy for him to say. He didn't have to sit next to Vance. He didn't have to worry about accidentally saying the wrong thing and setting him off. Wayne felt like they were walking into a death trap. And worst of all, Vance Hopper was staring at them from across the parking lot. The strange look in his eye. Wayne quickly looked away, heart hammering in their chest. This was going to be the worst week of their life. The walk home was quiet. Too quiet. Finny and Robin and them walked, making their way down the sidewalk. The sun was starting to set, casting a long shadow across the pavement. And then it happened. A voice, low and taunting, rang out from behind them. Well, 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 if it isn't the Blake twins. Wyan froze, stomach dropping. They didn't even need to turn around to know who it was. Moose, the worst bully in all of school. Finny tensed beside them, while Robin instantly stepped forward, sitting between them and Moose. Moose grinned, hands in his pockets, as he sauntered closer. What's wrong? He sneered. You scared? Robin flipped his switchblade open. You want to find out? Moose's grin faltered before he could say anything else. Another voice cut through the tension. You bothering them again, Moose? Silence. Wyan turned their heads slightly, eyes widening when they saw him. Vance. Wait, Vance? Wyan blinked. He was standing against a light post, arms crossed and eyes cold. He wasn't even looking at Wyan, didn't even acknowledge their existence. His focus was entirely on Moose. Moose hesitated before scoffing. What do you care, Hopper? Vance pushed off the light post, cracking his knuckles as he took a step forward. I don't, he said, voice flat. But you're in my way and I don't like that. Moose stared at him for a moment, before muttering a curse under his breath, backing away. Whatever, he snapped, turning off. Wyan let out a breath they hadn't realized they were holding in. Robin smirked. Looks like you got a bodyguard now, Wyan. Vance finally turned his gaze towards them. He looked at them, Wyan tensed, gripping their books even tighter. See you tomorrow, loser, he muttered before walking off, hands in his pockets. Wyan could only stare. Finny looked between them, eyes narrowed. That was weird. Oh, definitely. That was frickin' weird. Robin grinned. Wyan had no words, because the way Vance had looked at them before walking away, it wasn't anger, it wasn't annoyance, it was something. It was something dangerous, and it scared them. The next morning, Wyan woke up with a pit in their tummy. Their nerves from yesterday hadn't faded. If anything, they had multiplied and gotten worse. Vance Hopper had protected them. He had scared Moose off like it was nothing, like he wasn't the most feared bully in school. And the way he looked at them afterwards, that strange, unreadable look. Wyan had barely slept. Now they were standing in front of their school locker, trying to calm their racing thoughts. The hallway was packed with students. The usual morning rush filled the air with chatter and laughter. But Wyan wasn't paying attention to any of it, because Vance Hopper was walking straight towards them. The group on their book tightened. Vance didn't hesitate. He stopped right beside them, close enough that he could feel their presence. He didn't say anything at first, just leaned against the locker beside theirs, hands stuffed into the pockets of his denim jacket. Yo. Wyan flinched at the sudden greeting. Quickly looking up at him, he was watching them carefully, almost expectantly, like he was waiting for them to react. Hi. Vance smirked slightly, like their amused response made him happy. You got my address? Wyan blinked. Huh? For the project, he clarified, rolling his eyes. We're supposed to meet up. Remember? Oh, right. Wyan had completely forgot. Their stomach twisted as they realized what that meant. Spending time alone at Vance Hopper, at his house. Their voice was small. No. He huffed. Figures. Give me your book. Confused, Wyan hesitated before slowly handing over their notebook. Vance flipped it over, pulling a pen from his pocket, and he sprawled something into the pages before tossing it back to them. Be there by 4. And just like that, he turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowd, like nothing had even happened. Ryan stared at the messy writing in their notebook. The numbers and the street name blurred together as their anxiety grew. They were going to Vance Hopper's house. Oh God, help them. By the time school ended, Ryan was a nervous wreck. Vinny and Robin had tried to convince them not to go. Maybe you can just meet in the library instead, Vinny suggested. Robin was more direct. Or just pretend you're sick. He'd probably just do the whole project for himself out of spite. But Ryan knew that wouldn't work. Avoiding Vance was impossible. If they skipped, he'd find them at school the next day, and the last thing they wanted was for him to be angry at them. So here they were, standing in front of his house. It was an old, slightly run-down place with an overgrown lawn and a cracked driveway. The house itself looked normal, but something about it made Ryan's stomach churn. Taking a big deep breath, they knocked on the door. Silence. Then footsteps, heavy, slow, deliberate footsteps. The door swung open. Vance leaned against the frame, staring them down. "You're on time," he noted, sounding almost impressed. Ryan swallowed. Yeah. He stepped aside. "Get in." They hesitated before cautiously stepping aside. The house was dimly lit. The air was thick with the smell of cigarette smoke and something fried. The living room was cluttered with old furniture, and the TV was in a corner. It was on, playing some static-filled channel. Vance shut the door behind them. "Just don't touch anything," he muttered, shoving his hands into the jacket pockets as he led them towards the dining table. Ryan nodded, not even daring to brush against the walls. They sat across from each other, books spread out between them. Vance slumped in his chair, flipping through the signed pages with an unreadable expression. "This is boring," he muttered. Ryan stayed silent. They weren't sure what to say. Vance glanced up at them. "You always this quiet?" Ryan hesitated before nodding. Yeah, I guess." He snorted. "Figures." They lowered their gaze, feeling their cheeks burn. Minutes passed in silence as they worked, or at least Ryan worked. Vance just leaned back in his chair, tapping his pen against the table, looking utterly uninterested. After a while, he stretched and then let a groan. "Ugh, screw this," he muttered. "I need a break." Before Ryan could protest, he stood up and walked towards the kitchen. They heard the sound of the fridge opening, followed by some clinking of bottles, and when they came back, he had a soda in one hand and a bag of chips in the other. He dropped the bag on the table and plopped back into his chair, cracking the soda open with one hand. "You want some?" he asked, nodding at the chips. Ryan blinked in surprise. Sure." Vance shoved the bag towards them without another word. They hesitantly took a handful. It felt weird, almost normal, sitting here sharing food with Vance Hopper like he wasn't the most feared kid in school. Like he wasn't someone to be afraid of. "You're not as annoying as I thought," he said suddenly. Ryan nearly choked. "What?" He smirked. "You heard me." They didn't know how to respond to that. The study session lasted longer than expected. Outside, the sky had darkened, heavy rain plattering against the windows. Ryan glanced at the clock, stomach twisting. It was getting late. "I should go." Vance didn't even look up from his notebook. "Yeah, whatever." They hesitated slowly before gathering up their things. Just as they reached for their backpack, thunder rumbled outside. Ryan flinched. Vance noticed. "You scared of storms or something?" Ryan bit their lip, feeling a bit embarrassed. A little." He shrugged. "It's rain." They nodded but didn't move. Vance sighed and leaned against his chair. "You want to wait it out?" Ryan hesitated. "Won't your parents mind?" He shrugged. There was something about the way he looked at them that made Ryan drop the subject. "Okay." Vance watched them for a moment before standing up. "Come on," he muttered. "I'll put something on the record." We went into the living room, sitting in Vance Hopper's house, listening to the music while waiting out the storm. This was not how they expected their day to go, and yet As Vance Hopper dropped the needle onto the record player, glancing at them with an amused smirk, something was off. Maybe he wasn't as scary as they thought. Maybe Vance wasn't bad at all. To be continued.